Hey, so in today's video, I'm going to show you my complete step-by-step SEO audit checklist. In fact, this is the exact SEO audit checklist I've used to grow this client's organic search traffic by 1,337% and this client's traffic by 93%. Keep watching. So I'm actually going to perform an SEO audit live for you. I randomly selected a local business for the target keyword, personal injury lawyer Chicago. And the lucky business is DeSalvo Law. So the first item you need to audit is your backlink quality. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to audit the link profile to see if there's solid link quality. And we're just gonna look at the links in general. So all you have to do is go to Ahrefs, then click on the Site Explorer option, then enter the target URL. So all you need to do is go under the backlink profile section and click on backlinks. So in this section, what we're looking for are a few things. First of all, we're looking for unnatural link patterns, and we're also looking for low quality artificial links. So as we scroll down, we start to see, maybe a couple artificial links here and there. So we have a Wix link here, and this is just your classic Web 2.0 link. It's linking with Chicago car accidents, which is actually a really bad anchor text to use because this isn't something that a lawyer would probably even want to rank for because this doesn't actually have good intent. So using this anchor text is actually not going to be effective. And more importantly, it's a huge footprint when you use geo-targeted anchors. So this is also pretty bad. But beside that, this is just your classic Web 2.0 link, and this isn't going to do much. And in fact, I've had to pull some clients out of penalties for these types of links. You can always tell it's a Web 2.0 link because this will be on a subdomain. So you see it's Wix site, it has the subdomain, and then it has a bunch of folders. So it's so deep into Wix's site architecture that it's practically worthless to even get. And not only that, if you just look at it, it's very unnatural. It's not going to add any value, and it's clearly built just to place this link. So if we go through, we'll continue to look for some other similar types of links, and it looks like here's another one. This is going to be a Web 2.0 link placement. Yeah, so once again, same type of thing. Scroll down, looks like more Wix site. Looks like we have an article directory here. Some more Web 2.0s, more Web 2.0s. And you're starting to see a trend here that a lot of these are Web 2.0s, and they're really easy to spot. And the truth is, if I can spot them this quickly, Google's algorithm can spot them even faster than I can. So it's just not a good thing to be doing in general. So we look at these, once again, Article City. These websites are just built just to drive links to websites. They're not actually built to add value in any way, and you can tell right away. So these are not the links you'd want to be getting overall. And once again, another Web 2.0 link, same type of situation. They're trying to send some generic anchor text to this page to try to dilute it. Just not a good idea in general. Here's another Web 2.0 link, same situation. And then one more for good measure, just so you can see what these look like. These are not great links, and I would avoid these altogether. But you can tell just this link profile is filled with all these different Web 2.0 links. So this was clearly a strategy for whatever company was doing SEO for this law firm. And it's not ideal. But it does look like there has been an effort to try to dilute some of these bad links with some more editorial links, which is good. So that's one way to offset these lower quality links, is to get more high quality links to decrease the total percentage of those in the link profile as a whole. That's kind of the way that I go about looking at link quality. And of course, I've been doing this for a long time, so it takes me a few seconds to just see, identify these links, but you can almost always identify Web 2.0s by the subdomain and the unnatural linking practices. The second item you need to audit is your anchor text distribution. Okay, so the next thing we want to analyze is the anchor text profile. So all you need to do is go back to Ahrefs and then click on the anchor section. And then right away we can see some good stuff here. So we can see that the majority of the top anchor texts here are branded anchor text. And so that's really, really good. But it's only good on the surface. And so on the surface level, this looks great. But if we go ahead and examine the links that are sending these branded anchor texts to the site, we'll probably see that they're not high quality links based on our previous analysis with the link profile. So, and we can tell right away, it looks like the top links that they are getting are from Web 2.0 websites. So we can just go ahead and click this, and you can see right away that these are coming from the classic Web 2.0s that we talked about earlier in the link profile section. So Yes, branded anchor texts are good, but they don't mean much if they're coming from websites that are totally artificial and low quality. And so this is the right thing to do, but it's the wrong execution. So it's better to get a branded anchor text from a real website, not a artificially built website. So if we go through the link profile here, we're going to see more and more of these. It looks like there are some other ones sprinkled in, but for the most part, there's a lot of Web 2.0 links that are sending these branded anchor texts. So as we scroll down, we can start to see some keyword-rich anchor texts like personal injury lawyer in Chicago, Illinois. And it's not that keyword-rich anchor text is always bad. In fact, you need to use keyword-rich anchor texts sometimes to be able to perform well. But you can look at this anchor text profile and see that it does look a little unnatural. We're seeing, if we just go ahead and do a search for Chicago, we can start to see it's really starting to look pretty bad because this is just not a normal way for people to be linking to websites. And so, when you see the same anchor text repeated over and over, it's typically not great, especially when it's for a transactional keyword. It makes it look even more unnatural. It's more natural for an informational keyword to get a high volume of exact match anchor text, but for a transactional keyword, it looks extremely unnatural. So, one thing you can do on Ahrefs that's kind of nice is you can actually just do something like this once you know what the target keywords are, and then you can just see all of the anchor texts that are using geo-targeted modifiers like this. So as you can tell, it's not looking too good here. This is very over-optimized, and so this is something that you just do not want to do. This just doesn't look good. You can tell, look at this strip of anchor text. This is not ideal. And so let's look at the types of links that are sending these anchor texts. So if we go to the details section again, it looks like some of these links are coming from directories like this one, and this is really not good. You should never, and I mean literally never, link with an exact match anchor text or keyword-rich anchor text from a website like this, a directory link. And the reason is because these are not editorial links, and these are not high-quality links because anyone can go here and submit a link. And then also, your link is surrounded by a bunch of other websites that are also spamming keyword-rich anchors and using unnatural links. So, your website is now being associated with all these other websites that are also spamming. And so, general rule of thumb, just don't even get these links in the first place. But if you decide to, use a branded anchor text. Just do not use keyword-rich anchor text with any of these link types. Just not a good idea. Let's go ahead and look through some more. It looks like, once again, another directory type of link. And the problem with these types of directory links is that they're not even relevant to the client. They're just general web directory links, and this is a very old school practice, so maybe these links were built a long time ago. This stuff just doesn't work anymore. This isn't really something that anyone should be doing. I don't even know how these web directories are still around. They're showing PageRank as if Google updates it, but we know Google hasn't updated PageRank in several years. So yeah, so these are links you just shouldn't get in general, but if you do get them for some odd reason, just make sure you use a branded anchor text. But like I said, just avoid them because they're probably not going to help you. They may actually hurt you more than help you in most cases. Now, there are some cases where getting directory links is a good idea. Number one, if it's a actually high quality directory with editorial standards, that's legitimate. Or if it's a business directory like Yelp or the Yellow Pages or something like that that's very trusted, that's fine. And then two other types of directory links that are worth getting are going to be niche relevant directories and then also geo-targeted directories. So those are worth getting, but if you do get any type of directory-based link, just make sure you use a branded anchor text. But if we go through this entire link profile, we would see pretty much the same types of linking patterns. It's going to be artificial links, keyword-rich anchor texts, all the stuff that you really shouldn't be doing anymore. This stuff just needs to be avoided. The third item you need to audit is keyword cannibalization. So now we want to look for instances of keyword cannibalization. So my favorite way to find that particular issue, which means two pages are targeting the same keyword phrase, is to use Screaming Frog. So just put the target URL into Screaming Frog and then start the analysis. So the quickest way to find keyword cannibalization is just to go to the page title section, and then all you need to do is just search a word that you're seeing frequently in here. So in this case, I'm going to do accident, and I'll see right away that there's some keyword cannibalization issues going on right away. So we can see Chicago accident lawyers, and then we have Chicago car accident lawyer, which is a little more specific than this one, but we're starting to get into some of the keyword cannibalization areas. But then as we go down, now we're starting to see the issues. Car accident lawyer Chicago, car accident lawyer, and then we have car accident attorney, and then you see this repeated over and over and over and over. And these all have their own unique URLs. So this is just your classic case of keyword cannibalization. And so we would want to go through and consolidate or delete some of these pages so that only one page on the website targets car accident lawyer, which is a transactional keyword, so it should have transactional intent. So a lot of this stuff is probably not, in fact, it's not going to rank at all, and it's definitely not helping. And so typically some SEO companies will build out these pages because they think it's going to help with topical relevance, but it actually doesn't. It actually just causes keyword cannibalization, and it doesn't help at all. It actually detracts from the primary page that you're trying to rank. So it'd be much more effective to take some of the content on these pages and add it to the transactional page and make that page way more deep and way more authoritative. That's a much better strategy. So you can use Screaming Frog to quickly find all kinds of keyword cannibalization issues. You see how quickly I was able to do it. So just look for common words that you're seeing and then search in here, and then find pages that are targeting the same exact keyword phrases, and then go through the process of fixing them and focusing one page on the site for that primary keyword phrase. The fourth item you need to audit are low-hanging fruits. Trying to improve the rankings for your most important keywords should be the priority, but it's also good to find keywords where there's opportunity to rank for them. And typically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find keywords that have low competition and we'd be able to rank for them very quickly with just a few changes to the page or architecture or other optimization techniques. So what you need to do is go back to Ahrefs and then go to the keywords, organic keywords section. So then what you want to do is sort this by position. So we're going to go to 15, and then we're going to do from 5. So now what this is going to show us are keywords that they are in positions 5 through 15. And so that's typically where I would call a low-hanging fruit, because to 15 you have a few keywords that are right off the first page. So with just a little more optimization, maybe a little more links, you might be able to push those to the first page. And then also the ones that are in positions 5, you can push those up into the top 3 possibly, which is going to dramatically increase the organic CTR. So it gets substantially more once you get into those top 3 positions. Now, of course, one thing you want to look for here, if this was our client, I would, of course, want to look at these informational keywords and see if we can improve for them. But in reality, a lot of these informational keywords aren't going to drive sales and are not going to drive leads. So what we want to do is we want to actually look for the transactional keywords and see if there's opportunities to improve with the transactional keywords. So we know that this client in particular is targeting Chicago for personal injury and keywords related to that. We'll just search Chicago and see if there's any low-hanging fruits that we can go after. So based on what we see here, there is definitely some opportunity. Now, you may see this volume here and think that this isn't important or isn't good to target, but it actually is, because I've said this many, many times, but not all keywords are created equally. So when we look at this one, Chicago slip and fall lawyers, it only gets 30 searches per month, but all it takes is one client to be a massive, massive return on their investment. So, and that's why companies are willing to pay $25 per click or $65 per click or even $75 per click, because they know that getting just one client for one of these keyword phrases is a substantial amount of money. So getting the return is huge. And so now you got to be careful not to chase volume, because it's completely dependent on the keywords and the industry as well. So in this case, it looks like, there is some opportunity here to improve these pages and get them higher up. So he's sitting in position 7, and so getting him to the top 3 for this target keyword phrase would be huge for him, because that would immediately increase the amount of clicks going to his site, and of course possibly increase the amount of leads that he's getting. Now, looking at this page, we'll of course have to see if it's built well for conversions, but getting more clicks to the site gets him more opportunities to get leads. So I always recommend, when you start a new campaign, look for these low-hanging fruits, because if this is your client and you can get them some quick wins right out of the gate, they're going to love you so much more. And then while you've already gotten those quick wins, you can then start to go after those really competitive keywords that have more search volume and kind of the keywords that probably all of his competitors are focusing on putting all their resources into. So one workaround to do that is to go after these low-hanging fruits. The fifth item you need to audit is the site architecture. So while you're in Screaming Frog, you can also examine the site architecture. So there are many ways you can go about doing this. You can, of course, do a manual analysis, which is usually necessary, but you can get an overview of the site architecture pretty quickly just by using this tool alone. So while you're in the internal tab, just scroll over and we're going to look for a column called crawl depth. This is how many clicks it takes to get to whatever the target page is. This one, for example, this is extremely deep into the architecture, so it's probably an older article, so it would make sense if this was a really important article for the website. You would want to push this further up the architecture because 9 clicks deep is really, really low in the architecture, which means it's a low priority for the crawlers. And so if you want a page to be a high priority to the crawlers, it needs to be higher up in the site architecture. And as a general rule of thumb, you really don't want to go beyond 3 to 4 clicks deep. And so one of the things you can do is to get an overview is look at the site architecture section or the site structure section here, and you'll actually see overview of the crawl depth. And so ideally, you know, these bars should kind of be between 1 and 4. This should be the bulk of your pages. Now, in this case, they have a lot of pages where they're 4, 5, 6, 7, even 9 clicks deep. So that's way too deep for an architecture. So you want to push these all forward if they're important pages. If they're not important pages, then that's a different discussion because you need to talk about, you know, whether those pages should even exist in the first place if they're such a low priority in the architecture. You can also see here too, you know, how many URLs have this level of depth. Looking at this, there are a lot of URLs that are really deep in the architecture. So definitely a lot of work that can be done here, and Screaming Frog is just amazing for giving you this high level overview that you can then go deeper on and start to see, you know, why are these pages so deep in the architecture, and then you can decide what to do with them. The sixth item you need to audit are linkable assets. Okay, so the next thing we want to look for is to see if this client has any linkable assets that we can use for our link building and promotion for this website. So if you've been following me for a long time, you know that the best way to promote a website, in my opinion, the safest way to grow a website's authority is through creating linkable assets. And so whenever I start a new campaign, the first thing I look for is, does this client have anything that's worth linking to? And a lot of the times they don't. So we have to go through and create these linkable assets. But in this case, we're going to see if maybe there are some linkable assets that we can leverage in our link building. So just looking at the site, you know, we can see a few things here. We can see their transactional pages. We can see an FAQ section, which could be useful for link acquisition. See testimonials, which aren't usually good for links. And then we see an injury blog and then guides and courses. So these all might be interesting linkable assets. But typically for a linkable asset, I do want to target a keyword phrase. So we'll look at the blog and see if there's anything worth linking to. So it looks like this might be something interesting, what to do after a car crash and what not to do. And so that's a really interesting topic, and I think something like this could be link worthy. This does look like something we could use for link acquisition. And so what you want to do is just go through whatever the site you're working on, just find these different linkable assets. You don't need a ton, you only need, you know, 1 to 5. And then just go use these as your catalyst for growing the website's authority, and it'll make your life so much easier because then you don't have to build links in an unnatural way and use a bunch of geo-targeted anchor text like I showed you earlier. So this is the most natural way to build any website's authority, including local, national, or e-com. It's all the same strategy. And the seventh item you need to audit is your page level optimization. So we literally want to go page by page and make sure that each of his most important keyword targeted pages are optimized well. And so this is definitely the longest and most time consuming process because you have to go through each transactional page that they want to rank, and then we also want to go through all the informational pages that they want to rank as well and make sure that those are optimized well. And once we've figured out if they're optimized well, then we have to actually go through that process of optimizing them. But for now, let's just go through an audit of one of his transactional pages in this case. So his homepage is the primary target for the most important transactional phrase that he's trying to rank for, which is Chicago personal injury attorney or variations of. That could be, of course, personal injury attorney in Chicago or anything that's closely related. And so, a few things I noticed right away. If you want to rank for a target keyword phrase, it should be the very first heading that shows up on the page. And so this is all great here for sales purposes and lead gen purposes, but it's not great for SEO purposes. And in fact, if you're trying to drive organic search traffic, it needs to be very, very clear what this page is about right out of the gate. And so basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to instruct Google's crawlers about what this page is about, and it needs to be abundantly clear. There needs to be no ambiguity. And so right here, Google may be able to deduce what this page is about, but if you're competing against other people, Google's going to prefer a page that is more clear than the ones that are not. And so in this case, there are probably competitors who have placed their primary keyword targets above the fold in the right locations. And so more than likely this is a H1 tag. And it actually isn't. Okay, yeah, so this is not an H1 tag. And the first heading on a page should always be an H1 tag. And so right here, this isn't an H1 tag, so this is not ideal. And I don't actually know. We'll go actually look at the page source. We'll see if we can find an H1. And there's actually not an H1 on this page at all. And so that's a problem right there. So every page should have an H1 tag. It's the most critical tag on a page. So that's the first issue, is that there isn't an H1 tag. The second issue is that the primary keyword target isn't in the primary heading, which would be the H1. So if we scroll down, we'll see that, his primary keyword target here is in a heading tag, and I believe this is an H2. So if we go and look, yeah, so there is an H2 tag here, which is good. It has the primary keyword in it. But if we were going to structure this page the right way, we would move this heading up here and it would become the H1 tag. And then you can use some of this other copy around it. But this needs to be the very first thing that shows up on this page above the fold. Pretty basic there, but it's really, really important. Now, there is something that I like here that's great. I like that there's a contact form here right away that they can fill out. I like that there's a phone number here that makes it very easy to call on mobile. So there's a lot of good stuff going on here. That's great. The only thing I would say about, and this is purely from a conversion rate optimization standpoint, this lead form is blending in with the background, so it doesn't really stand out. A lead form should really stand out when someone is on this page because you want their eyes to be drawn to it. But when you look at this page, everything's kind of blending in. And more importantly, you don't want your headings to be the same color as your call to action. And although it changes upon hovering, there's still a lot of the same colors here. And the problem is that you're not creating contrast. And the key to making a form really pop and really making people want to fill it out is creating contrast on the page. So this is the most critical element of the page, so it should really have a lot of contrast. And this actually will apply to the phone number as well, which is also the same color as everything else. So your two primary conversion points above the fold need to really have a lot of contrast so you can drive more conversions. So not an SEO thing, but it is a part of SEO because there is maybe some possibility that Google can track goal completions. And it's hard to really know if it's true or not, but Google is analyzing how people interact with websites all the time. So if they're looking at 10 pages competing for the same keyword and 5 of those pages never get any conversions, then they may say, maybe this page isn't the best for the searchers. So it's probably likely, hard to prove, like I said, but it's likely that they can see if goal completions are happening. So therefore, conversion rate optimization may actually impact SEO. So something to think about there. But anyway, that's the first part of this. And then as we scroll down, this is probably not ideal for readability. Just having these huge blocks of text, and then also the headings are the same color as the call to actions, not ideal. So the way to fix this is to fix the design. So instead of making it these huge blocks of text, you could do a left-right format, which would have text here and then an image, and then text here and then an image. And that helps break it up and make it easier to read. And then another part of this is if you're going to have these sections here on the home page, you need to make each section needs to have its own call to action, because when you look at these are actually linked to other pages, and these links, you don't even know that they're links in the first place. And so this isn't really built for users. This is built to try to manipulate Google's rankings, and it's not ideal. And this stuff it doesn't work. It's much better to build a page that's built for users instead of building a page that's built to manipulate Google's algorithms. So this needs to be restructured. The internal linking strategies need to be changed. And plus, linking with these keyword-rich internal anchors isn't really going to do much because they're already in the navigation with pretty much the same anchor text. So you're not really getting any benefit by doing this. So just something to think about there. And then as we scroll down, once again, hard with the readability here. Everything's all blended together. The phone number here isn't linked, so that would force someone to actually have to type the phone number into their phone, which isn't ideal. So, and then as we scroll down, the one thing I do like is that there's a lot of content, which is good, because that's going to be really a big deciding factor between, multiple people competing. But there's a lot of room for improvement here as far as design and user experience. So, and then right here we have some testimonials, which is great. I love putting testimonials on transactional pages, so this is excellent. Once again, maybe formatting could be improved a little bit. And also when you have testimonials, it's best to try to get pictures of the individuals. People buy from people, so we want to have a lot of faces here. That's important. Looks like we have some sort of lead magnet or something of that nature, but then we have two of them. So if we really want to probably improve the conversion rates on one or the other, we'd probably want to focus on one instead of having both, because now we're creating some decision fatigue here. And I like this, a section where you can basically explain why they should work with this attorney. It's something that I do recommend with a lot of transactional pages, to add more content. So it's definitely a good thing. So yeah, this is good for the most part. I think the formatting can be improved. For readability reasons, we always want to focus on that left-right format, or using sections to break up the content so it's easier to read, because people, when they read online, they skim. They don't read word for word. And typically what they'll do is they'll read headlines and then they'll go back and read the rest. But that's only if it's readable and it seems like it's worth reading. Now, when you look at this, there's so many different formats going on, so much bolding and underlining and different colors. It needs to be refined a little bit more. And once again, some contrast issues here. You have headlines that are orange, and then you have call to actions that are also orange. So the contrast is going to create issues. And then this is not linked again, and this is not linked down here as well. So yeah, those are some things that, this page has a lot of room for improvement, but it definitely has, a good foundation for good on-page optimization. Now we can look at some other things like, we'll go down here in the footer, and it looks like the address is in the footer, which is good. So this will help certainly with keeping the NAP, or name, address, and phone number information consistent. But once again, the phone number is not linked here in the footer. So I'm assuming what happened here is that, they assumed because this was linked here in the navigation that they wouldn't need to do the others. But if you're going to have a phone number on the page, then it should be linked. And then one other thing we can look for is, if we examine this, we can see if they have schema markup, and it doesn't look like this has any schema markup. And I could of course run this through a schema markup tool and see if they have it, but it doesn't look like they do. So one other thing to take this page to another level is to add some schema markup to this, some structured data. I would consider adding a video to this page. You can put it above the fold, which would then help you increase dwell time, help you build a relationship quicker with prospects, and it helps you differentiate yourself from other attorneys, because most of them are probably not going to have videos. So having a really high quality video that explains your unique value proposition and the results that you've gotten for your clients is a pretty big deal. So, and it helps from an SEO perspective too. So that's one thing. And then if we look at just the general keyword placement and density, we'll look at Chicago. There's some challenges here. So first of all, putting Chicago car accident lawyer and then putting Chicago fall down lawyer, you're starting to cannibalize the primary keyword target of this page, which is just personal injury. So you want to keep this very, very structured and very specific to whatever that primary target is. So I would avoid talking about these other things, especially using a geo-targeted modifier like that. So you'd want to use Chicago fall down lawyer or Chicago car accident lawyer on those pages instead of starting to place them here, because now we're starting to get into some murky water with that. So we want to keep everything extremely targeted. That's really important. And then this is just it's just stuffing keywords really, and it's not necessary. You really only need to have your primary keyword target in the H1 tag, maybe in the first H2 tag, and then just sprinkle in a couple times. But you don't need to be this over optimized to rank. And instead, what you want to do is focus on building an incredible user experience on this page. Everything else will work out. And then, of course, you need to acquire links the right way. So yeah, just making a really great page for users and then placing your keywords in the most important positions is far more important than just stuffing the same keyword multiple times on the page. So those are just a few things that I noticed right off the bat. Now, of course, you'd want to go page by page and go through this same analysis of every single one. But as you can tell, on-page optimization is much more than just placing keywords. In fact, a lot of good on-page optimization is actually restructuring pages and making them better for users, and most importantly, making them better for conversions. So those are the 7 high impact SEO audit items you need to tackle if you want better rankings and more traffic for your company's website or your clients' websites. So if you enjoyed this video, please like it, hit the bell notification, and subscribe to my channel, because you'll get first access when I publish a new video just like this one. And also, if you have any questions whatsoever, please leave it below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.